What's going on, guys? Welcome to Ask Coach Jenks. Another episode, exciting episode because we just watched Alabama lose to Georgia. Georgia for the first time in how long, Dad? 40 years or something like that?
Yeah. Since Herschel Walker played in 1980, I believe it was.
Yeah, your buddy Herschel Walker, obviously someone you've coached
Yeah.
in the pros. And yeah, tell us your perspective of the game, of what you observed from Alabama and
Well,
Georgia.
leading into this game, I think many of the games I say on my radio show, and then also on this podcast, that I didn't give Georgia much of a shot because of the fact that seems like Alabama matched up so great against them the first time, and even last year, 2 years in a row. And I figured, hey, they're on a roll, and they are determined to win another national title against Georgia. And yet, what could have happened, what could have happened to that would be catastrophic against Alabama actually happened. And that's why you end up playing the game and you don't listen to characters like me or you or any of these other media people, any media people talking about, well, this or that, this or that. You got to play the game. That's the great thing about football. You got to go out and redeclare yourself every time out. And that's what Georgia did. And that's what Alabama failed to do and failed to get done. Now, let's talk about the mishaps in the game. This game reminded me an awful lot of one that I coached in years ago when I was coaching for the Arkansas Razorbacks back in the late 1970s, when we had come off of an 11-1 season. In 1977, we had just beaten Oklahoma. We had upset them in the Orange Bowl 31-6. We finished up third in the country, second in some polls. And we're playing the Houston Cougars in the Astrodome. We're undefeated in 1978. And I think Bill Yeoman's Houston Cougars might have been undefeated at the time. We come out, and Ron Calcagney as quarterback, he was up and down the field running that option just to precision. We are all over those Houston Cougars, but we're inside the 10 on 3 occasions, and we came away with nothing but field goals. It was 9-0 when all of a sudden Bill Yeoman, he starts hanging his hat on running the counter option at our defense, and we couldn't stop it. We go in at halftime 9-7, and they still had the momentum against us, although we were ahead. They came out the second half and put it on us. We lost that game 20-9. And that's what this thing reminded me of. Alabama had a lot of touchdowns get away from them in the first quarter, and they go in at halftime 9-6 ahead instead of having a 21-0 lead and losing those scoring opportunities. And not to mention their top receiver, along with one other top receiver, getting knocked out of the game. Williams goes down the field, who had nearly 200 yards or so against Georgia the first time they played. He catches the ball down the middle of the field. Nobody even touches him, and he tears up his knee and goes to the ground. What's the odds of that happening? Do you wonder how many times that young man has gone up and down the field in practice for the last few years, as well as games, and gotten hit, gotten collided over across the middle, and just bounced right back up. Here's a guy, exceptional talent, and he goes down. They have no passing game as far as vertical stretch down the field the rest of the game. Georgia's strength was their defense against the run. So they choked off Alabama's run game. They could do very little down the field. And then all of a sudden, here comes Georgia with momentum, and they prevailed as the victor in that game. And not to mention, they also blocked a field goal. So everything that could have happened good for Georgia, it did. Alabama, on the other hand, they will live to fight another day. Again, I don't have to tell any of the listeners what a great program that is and an NFL machine that Saban's got going there at every position area. Many of his guys will move right on to the NFL. There'll be other young men that's ready to step up and answer that challenge for next season. And here we go.
Yeah, it seems like all the starters are coming back for Alabama. A lot of those guys. Obviously, their quarterback, a lot of key players on defense. You think it's going to be another Georgia and Alabama, or you think Alabama's just going to keep building steam? Maybe your perspective. What's your perspective on Nick Saban? The dude's 70 years old.
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago when he showed up, like he had way more intensity, way more aggression. And
why should he even think about retiring when here's the thing that's scary. This name, image, and likeness that's taken off around the country, paying players by corporations and all. You know what? All the corporations want to be a part of a national contender. They want to align themselves with number one. Do you think every corporation in America wouldn't like to have a plaque of the Alabama Crimson Tide on their wall? That's why Bryce Young had over $1 million in his pocket for walking around money before the season even started, because corporations want to align themselves with number one.
Wow.
If that young man had gone to UCLA or Southern Cal or Washington or Notre Dame or Florida or Penn State, whatever, he would not have gotten near the accolades or near the money or near the attention as he did coming to Alabama. The reason he got that money in his pocket because it was Alabama. And as I mentioned, people want to align themselves, and that's what's happened here. The NCAA has turned this thing loose. It's a wild goose chase now with money running loose. There's no thought of an NCAA violation. They're going to do what they want to do. Alabama's going to get stronger. They're just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
That's so true. That's so true. So how much money you think is being filtered to some of those players now that it's legal? Like, you think Bryce is getting paid over $1 million?
Oh yeah, exactly. The real creative thing is this. It's just like a couple of ex-linemen at Texas Tech who were not great players, but you know what? They struck oil in their oil business out there in West Texas, and they did a thing that I thought was real creative. They came into the Texas Tech program and they said, we're gonna provide every single offensive lineman in this program. We're gonna give them $100,000 apiece, walk-ons and scholarship players. You know what? Offensive linemen are hard to find. The real good ones sometimes. I think old Texas Tech's onto something right here. They're probably going to have some damn good offensive lines in the next couple of years, I would imagine. The same thing applies with other programs. I don't have to mention the Nike corporation that's engulfed the Oregon Ducks or Under Armour there at the University of Maryland. Yeah, there's going to be some big time action flying around, and it's all going to be money driven. You bet.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what about your perspective on Kirby Smart and Nick Saban's relationship after beating them in the national championship? Obviously, you've coached against Bear Bryant, Nick Saban.
Yeah.
All these guys that you've been friends with. What's your perspective from the outside looking in on those?
Well, you know what? I thought it was great. It was a great gesture that Saban handled himself with class after the game. I could hear him say to Kirby, "Y'all really whipped our butt in the fourth quarter," and smiled at him. And you know what? He had always said that, Kirby had been with him at LSU. He had been with him with the Dolphins. He had been with him there at Alabama, and then departed finally for his own job at Georgia. And Saban had said he's one of the most loyal, dedicated coaches, if not the most dedicated and loyal that's ever been with me. And don't you know, Saban is really proud for him that this happened for Kirby. And as mentioned, Saban's going to bounce back. He's a competitor, and he will be back again next season. You know, each and every year we look at guys that are returning. Now this season, Alabama had 3 or so on offense and maybe 4 or 5 on defense. That's a misconception. Saban plays a lot of his second and thirds in every game when he's wiping somebody out. They play in that second half. The same thing happened this year. When they come back next season, he will have a whole host of players who have played in games, big games, and consequently, they're just going to reload. And Georgia, on the other hand, don't you know they're excited about building for the future again? Just like when Herschel Walker played and they won those national titles with Vince Dooley, the head coach there, and so the future couldn't be better for the Georgia Bulldogs. It's going to be once again the Southeast Conference. That's the big neighborhood, I call it, of college football, and it's just going to keep getting stronger.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, lots happened since we talked last. Obviously, it was the New Year's, and things are starting to slow down with all the holidays and whatnot. But like AB walked out of a game in the middle of the game, ripped his jersey off and shirt off and everything. I mean, who knows what all that was about? But like, what's your perspective on the whole?
Yeah, I hated to see that happen because Antonio Brown and Tom Brady had a great chemistry with each other, and throwing to him. And let's just pretend like he's gone for the season with an injury. You got to move on. You got to handle it as a coach. Tom Brady has been so mature over the years. Next guy up that wants a great opportunity to catch balls, catch touchdowns from me. That's it. That's the way he goes. And so you just move on. You just got to move on without him. He's certainly, Brady's had an MVP year at 44 years old that not many of the media is going to acknowledge because they wrote him off maybe 10 or 15 years ago for being too old. This guy he is certainly a freak of nature, playing like he's 27 years old, leading the league with over 40 touchdown passes, over 5,000 yards passing, the only quarterback to do that this year. Touchdown passing, just go on and on and on. He is the league leader. He's not doing pretty good. He's the best. So 13-4 record with Tampa Bay. And I've watched them closely this season. They haven't been dominant. And if it wasn't Brady's presence, they may have a 6-11 record or whatever. So my hat's off to Tom Brady, and certainly it's going to be exciting to watch him in the playoffs starting Sunday, and we're going to see how that goes. But regardless of how that turns out, what another sensational season he's had, an MVP year for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're done with college football, entering the NFL playoffs. What's your early prediction on the Super Bowl? Who's going to win? And even the score. Let's hear the score. Like, I'm talking about like way early, too early prediction. Let's hear your prediction.
I can't. This is one of those unusual years where I don't see a dominant team. I've seen, if anything, the Cincinnati Bengals may be the one with the most momentum. They knocked off the Chiefs. They had an unbelievable passing outrage by Joe Burrow against the Ravens, who normally has an exceptional defense. I said previously about Tom Brady, you can't count him out. He comes into a first-year program a year ago and takes them and wins the Super Bowl. My gosh, what do you say about that? So how do you disregard him? Hey, the Packers, they could be there, but they've had their moments. They've lost 3 games this year, just like a lot of teams. I think it's going to be a real toss-up. I think
who would you put money on if you had to bet? Like, who would it be?
You couldn't put a gun to my head right now and make me bet on anybody. I believe this is such a toss-up this season. I think we're in for some big surprises for the playoffs in the NFL.
Okay. I need specifics. Obviously,
Hey,
behind the
come
scenes,
back
you
to
don't.
me. Let's do this
Behind the
again next week, and I'll
Yeah,
give you a little more
behind the
insight.
scenes, you don't believe as much as into the Cowboys as I am. I think the Cowboys are going to take it. This could be the year, but I'm
Yeah.
from Texas. Whatever.
Yeah, you know what? I
A little
love Jerry
biased.
Jones. I love Jerry Jones, and I love the program there over the years. Dak Prescott's a Mississippi State guy. You know, I coached there. Really admire him. I'm pulling for them, but yet Tom Brady. You know, I've got my feelings there. The best quarterback ever, and so
This is the
you know,
most
hey,
political answer, man. I mean, you could run for
yeah.
president when this is all said and done. Just ride the fence. No stance
Yeah.
whatsoever.
There you go. There you
I'm gonna
go.
tell you, Cowboys gonna be there. Cowboys gonna win it. Just so you know. All
Yeah,
right.
I tell you what I'm going to do too. I'm going to say the old. You know, I'm pulling for a way distant underdog too, in the AFC. I'm going to go Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow.
Cincinnati Bengals against. Hey, let's say Tom Brady. You know why? Why? How can I not say Tom Brady? You know,
Okay.
there you go.
So Tampa versus the Bengals. All
There
right.
you go.
We'll see
There
what
you go.
I had to pull some teeth to finally get that answer.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. This is fun doing these shows with you, man. Seriously.
You bet. You bet. Hey, I tell you what, all you folks, hope you enjoyed the national championship game. It's good for college football that Georgia won that. Like I said, I admire Nick Saban so much, what he's done, what he's accomplished, but it is good to spread it around. Just like when you know, Orgeron and Joe Burrow won that thing at LSU a couple years ago, and just Georgia now, first time since 1980 that they've won the national title. Hey, I'm really happy and proud for them, and it's good for college football to see this happen. Not just one team winning year in and year out. So that's good. Let's see what happens in the NFL playoffs this weekend. All of y'all enjoy the games.
Yeah. I appreciate your time, Dad.
You bet. Have a good one, Rafe.